This is the perfect family scene when Mom, Dad, and Junior all want to hear the same radio program.
It's important, actually, that the interviewer does homework and gets going instead of kind of dulled, you know.
You probably get the best interview, darling.
I have a personal relationship with my fans where I don't mess around.
You know what I mean? You're right, you know, music should be a fucking uplifting thing.
I delivered the message. Now.
It's time for Ben Pitcher's Industry Insider.
Got the message?
Welcome to Ben Pitcher's Industry Insider for another episode. Very excited about this week's guest, an old friend of ours joining us here all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Johnny Galvatron joining me today on the show. How are you, mate?
Framer, it's great to be back.
It's, well, you never really went anywhere. You just decided you wanted to be back in the focus a little bit. Am I correct?
I locked myself in a house for a couple of years and wrote a novel, and now I'm back out doing some creative stuff.
Yeah, and the creative stuff is amazing. You're game lead, as I understand it, for the Artful Escape of Francis Vendetti. Now, this is cool as hell, man. I mean, I don't game as much as I used to. Most of my gaming now happens on an iPad because it's a little more convenient during the travel hours. But
sure, man, it's cool to be casual.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's piqued my interest and brought up a lot of ghosts from the past. I remember looking at this, I think about endless hours playing Zelda, endless hours playing whatever, console I could get my hands on at the time, and any excuse not to do homework. Tell us a little bit more about the Artful Escape of Francis Vendetti. How did this come to fruition?
Well, I studied 3D computer animation at uni. And then about a week after I finished, the Galvatrons got their record deal, my band.
Yeah.
And I never did it because, as you know, Framer, because you were there for a lot of it, we traveled the world for a couple of years and did some crazy stuff. So I never really got into gaming. And then after we got back and the band broke up, I started moving back into gaming. I started writing editorials and various reviews for online gaming journals.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, a journal is like a website, except no one looks at it. So I was writing for those sort of things, then gradually got back into gaming, hanging out with some programmers and started working on this game. And it's been a lot of kind of big advances in the software for making games at home, like the engines. And I'm working on this engine called Unreal Engine 4. And it's just absolutely amazing. And that's how I got back into making the game. But the game is about this teenage musician who goes on an interstellar journey to inspire his stage persona.
Is this anything to do with the past, the band stuff, the touring, what you did at all, or is this where did Francis come from?
I think the whole world and concept of Francis Vendetti is maybe what I thought the music industry was when I was in high school.
Okay.
Like this world of fantasy and unlocked doors and what you imagine goes on in the world of the elite rock and roll.
Yeah.
With a huge dose of fantasy and space travel mixed in. It's kind of like it's definitely reflects a lot of my views with music and about especially about the themes of dealing with your musical talent versus your image and how they can both be as artful as one another.
Yeah. What's the where's the? I mean, look, I may be reading into the title too much, but I always like to ask as many questions as I can of you because people tend to only gloss over what you're doing in a lot of ways, and I think there's more to it. The Escape. What's The Escape for Francis Vendetti?
The Escape is definitely based around this whole image versus musical content, which kind of has a weird stigma. It never has for me, but it does for some people. I mean, you and I, Framer, were not fans of musical TV shows. We're not fans of like The Voice.
No,
or
absolutely not.
Or American Idol or whatever. That's not a thing. Now, I don't know if we like it for different reasons, right? Or don't like it for different reasons. The reasons I don't like it is because I think it strips those artists of any future they might have as presenting themselves as a mysterious, creative oddity, right?
Yes.
Once you've been on those shows, they know what school you went to. They've seen you muck up a rehearsal. They meet your mum and dad. They interview your old school teachers. There is no mystery left. There is no way for you to reinvent who you are in that creative image that represents your music. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So the escape of Francis Vendetti, the escape part is definitely this part of which I think has a kind of stigma from that grunge era where the no image was image, but people can represent themselves and represent their music in whatever creative medium they feel, whatever they can become, whatever character they want to present that music. And I think sometimes it's forgotten, sometimes when it's done, like David Bowie, it's done brilliantly. So that's what the escape's about.
You're listening to Ben Pitcher's Industry Insider.
I remember having a conversation with you. It might have been a year ago. It might have been a little longer, maybe a few years ago, where, moving back into the gaming world, I popped over and we had a chat. And you're probably one of the first people that I had this discussion with. And it was about it was really about the changing of the guard for the music business. I guess marrying of music into gaming, and gaming taking on almost the persona of what the music industry used to be. Where do you see that relationship now with music and gaming?
I think the talent coming out of it, it's a similar route. I think I think it's similar to garage, right? So say garage is coming out of people's garages, obviously, and they're doing it with shitty 4 tracks, and they don't know how to play their instruments, but for some reason that rawness comes through beyond the technical intricacies of it, beyond how it's recorded, beyond how brilliantly it's played. You can feel that raw emotion and that raw angst. And I think games, instead of in the garage or in their bedroom, everyone's got a computer. And for like Unreal Engine 4 is free, is literally free. So, I mean, they charge a percentage when you release the game for sales, but like you can build your whole game for nothing. So I think now that music seems to be a little less glamorous, people are starting to see the tech side of things as being a little more prolific. So you have that similar rise to fame of people coming out of their garages and coming into that creative world and being respected. So I think they're very similar in that manner.
Okay, yeah, it's a very interesting shift, and it seems to have kind of exploded just as in my opinion anyway, the music industry really taking a massive dive. I mean, in Australia, we saw a gentleman by the name of Paul Cashmere this week posting record sales, 4,000, for one of the top records, as opposed to 30,000 last year in the same month. And then you look at gaming and downloads and things like that, and even your small developers, their downloads, their interest, it's just going through the roof. It's an incredible shift.
I think I don't know. This is coming complete like disclosure, coming from someone who's stepped away from the music industry and has gotten into gaming. So this is obviously my opinion anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fine.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just music is just not as glamorous anymore. It just doesn't take a part like a bigger slice of our mental pie as it used to.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. And I think, we could be heading for quite a major shift in entertainment with almost every major company coming through and pushing VR over the release of this Christmas and the year beyond, all the VR headsets coming out. We'll see people shifting their money towards more interactive entertainment, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to have a chat about Beethoven and Dinosaur. I really want to pick your brain about this Unreal Engine because I'm nowhere near understanding that and game developing, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would like to hear about it. And,
Sure.
you know, the development grant and Steam, we've got a lot to talk about, so stick with me, mate, and we'll take a quick break and come back here on Ben Pitchers Industry Insider.
For more, head to BenPitchersIndustryInsider.com. Follow Ben on YouTube at Ben Pitchers Industry Insider.
Welcome back to Ben Pitchers Industry Insider. Joining me, Johnny Galvatron, game lead on the Artful Escape, Francis Vendetti. We're talking about the game itself is amazing, but also the relationship between music and gaming, where it's headed. The music industry sort of dropping off and the gaming industry stepping up. So we're seeing a different kind of superstar. It's cool, man. You know, what's the vibe out there, Johnny, in the gaming world at the moment, developing land?
Man, all ups and downs, I suppose, as a blooming industry. There's a lot of huge successes and some huge failures as well. I guess it's like any burgeoning art form. But, yeah, I guess we are starting to see a few superstars. We haven't got a Spielberg yet.
Yeah.
But we have some early renaissance, I think, of celebrities coming out of the whole of Japanese gaming and the rise of esports. Esports, I don't know if they've got it quite right yet, but the Dota tournaments was just like 8 million or 18 million for the winner.
That's
ridiculous.
That's crazy. It's good. It's good money. I don't even think that kid in the Wizard won that much. Didn't he just get like a
Fred Savage
console and a power glove at the end of that? I don't know what happened there.
Did he get to go home with winning? No, that was the Wonder Years.
No, it was the Wonder Years. But hey, good prize nonetheless. Tell me a little bit more about Beethoven and Dinosaur.
Beethoven and Dinosaur is the name of just our little collective crew who are making the game. And that's like me, Josh Abrahams.
Yeah.
Who did the music for Moulin Rouge and wrote Totally Addicted to Bass. I never let him forget that.
I remember that. What was that? I saw that live at the 2000 Big Day Out in the Boiler Room. Interesting song. But it was massive. It was massive in Australia, so you know, more power to him.
Yeah. He's a great dude. He has a room in his studio that's bigger than my house, which is just the synths he doesn't use.
Wow.
Crazy synth library. It's the best. It's an absolute toy shop.
I'm sure you're in heaven when it comes to synths in there, mate.
I like a cheesy synth framer. You know this.
Absolutely. So who else is involved with the crew, so to speak?
A couple of programmers.
Yeah.
Justin and Sean and those guys. They've done like a lot of. How did they start? They were like in developing games for like industrial use, like to teach people stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And then they were helping kids with autism learn game development, and they've also been doing a bit of their own stuff on the side. They're good kids, good programmers.
Interesting challenge.
Their offices have no posters. It's just completely white.
Wow.
They're such programmers.
Wow, that is weird.
And that's our little crew.
How'd you guys get together?
Well, like how I start all my projects, Framer, I nab them from other people's companies.
Well, you've got to do it somehow, and it sounds like it's working for you, mate.
Hey, I do it with the work, Framer. I don't just buy them off because I don't have heaps of cash. You know this.
Yet you will, though. You will. I'm sure of it. Did you come into this collective with Francis already? Already developed to a point, or was it the group together?
No, I did. I approached them with the first trailer, which was the game pretty much working at a core level.
Yeah.
And they were happy to work on it, which is really exciting. It's good working with people who really are motivated.
The Unreal Engine that you mentioned before and working with it, how it works, can you explain a little bit more about that? I find that quite interesting. So at its base, you can use that as a free program, is that correct?
It's a program, yeah. You can download it for free, build your game for free, and then if you want to release your game publicly, then you got to give them like 10%.
Okay.
I think that's right. I think it's 10%. Check it out for yourself, Unreal Engine 4.
All right.
But yeah, it's kind of a more complex version of like Photoshop. You know, people use Photoshop to manipulate images. Unreal 4, though a lot more technical. is a similar thing. It's a framework within which to build your game.
Okay, now are there other engines like that out there? Is this?
Yeah, there's like CryEngine, there's a Source Engine which Valve make, but none of them are probably as. I haven't done much work in the CryEngine, but I think Unreal 4 is undoubtedly the most popular at the moment. Unreal 4.
Yeah.
And it's based off, it's a new version of UDK, which we used to actually make Arkham Knight, the game that just came out.
Yep.
So it's a solid engine. It looks very pretty.
Who else out there is using Unreal 4 that's grabbed your attention that are putting out games at the moment?
Oh hell, Unreal 4 is still in its beta, so you're really just looking at a lot of stuff in development, Framer.
So trailers, as you were saying.
Yeah, trailers are the best. They're way better than the movies or the games. So some of the work there's been we got a grant from Unreal Engine, which we were so stoked with. They gave us like $17,000 US to keep working on the game, which was really amazing. I emailed them once, which is like, "Hey, I'm making this game," and then like 2 months later, they just sent me a check. So
wow! So the guys, the engine you use, they also deliver grants for developers that use their engine. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So that was like 22 grand Australian. So I was like stoked. And yeah, they promoted the game heavily, which was fantastic. So I got back into game making about a year ago, and like when you bring up Unreal Engine 4, it has like a little news section and stuff of what's happening. So I started a year ago, and then almost like a year to the day, opened it up, and my game was like in the news section. I was like, yes.
Subscribe to Ben Pitcher's Industry Insider on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and iTunes. Follow Ben on Facebook at Industry Insider Official.
To go back to the music thing a little bit, do you ever compare this new journey you're taking in gaming to what you did in the music biz? Are there any similarities at all?
I guess it's a lot like being in the studio the entire time, and slowly going insane. I'll definitely be insane by the time the game's finished, no question. What's amazing about gaming is its business model is almost criminal. Like, you can put up a half little finished game, people will pay for the game, like to the point of where you can, quadruple your budget if you pull off a really good Kickstarter, because so much money of Kickstarter goes to gaming.
Yeah,
and you can have your game fully financed and paid for before you've made it, and then all you're giving is 30% to Steam or the varying amounts to PlayStation or whoever, and then that's it. The rest goes in house. And like, I'm not saying it's easy money. You've got to make a game, but compared to a record deal, it's just incredible.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about Steam. I remember you mentioning this to me maybe last year. You're talking about, what did you say? You call it kind of like the iTunes for games, where you can just go on there and there's games everywhere.
Steam, yeah. Steam is like a hub for buying and playing games and launching games and selling games and a community of gamers. It's usually like about 6 to 8 million people on it at one time.
Really?
So, yeah, it's like another like thing. Yeah, so Steam is, and we just got greenlit on Steam, which means that you put your game on there and the community votes on which games should be put onto Steam, because there's so many millions of games.
Yeah,
they can't put them all on there, and a lot of them are just terrible. You know what I mean? So people have to vote, and we just got greenlit on Steam, so that's really fantastic for us.
So is greenlit the start of the process for voting, or does that mean you've been voted on and they've said you're cool to be on Steam?
Yeah, we've been voted on. So when the game is finished, it'll be released on Steam.
Excellent. Now, what other avenues can you take to promote the game during the development and upon release?
You just run it like any normal social media campaign.
Yep.
Really. But we'll be pushing to get enough funding to put it onto PlayStation or Xbox as well. So
well, you take it to that level. What's the explain to me how you get it across platforms. Like if you were to take it to PlayStation or Xbox or even onto handheld devices, iPads, iPhones, that sort of thing. How does that work?
Yeah, it's a bigger task to put it onto iPads and stuff because you'll need a different UI system, which is like user interface.
Yep.
So that's a bit more tech, but you can actually export from Unreal 4 to different engines. I mean, like to different platforms.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously, it's not that easy. You can't just save it onto a different platform, and there's different companies who you can work with to cross-platform your game. But I don't know. It's a bit of a tech answer and a boring answer.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's what we're here for. So, where can we expect to see the game when released? What platforms will we see it on?
Well, look, I can't confirm anything yet, Framer. Obviously, it'll be on Steam.
Yeah.
But we're going to Kickstarter within the next 2 months, and we'll be having push goals to get onto PS4.
Fair enough. And is there anything else in development, or is it all hands on deck for this?
Yeah, definitely all hands on deck for this. There's a lot of music in the game as well. Like if we talk about the gameplay, it's you walk around various parts of alien universes and record the wildlife and the flora and the fauna of those areas, and then you can combine all those things to make music. And basically, you're walking around trying to gather sounds so you can make a spectacular entrance. That's like the gameplay. You have to arrange this music so you can appear in like a burst of fireworks and just rad awesomeness. That's how you play the game. So
everyone likes a bit of rad awesomeness. I mean, you know.
You need the rad awesomeness. So, we've got all that music, plus we've got the various soundscapes of alien universes, and there's like a lot of the calls of the animals throughout the world, and they're arranged musically. So there's a lot of music work to do, a lot of artwork to do.
Well, Johnny, stick with me. Let's take one more break. We'll come back for the last segment here. I'd love to talk about that. Let's get into the music of the game and the artwork of the game before we leave you to it for the day. How's that sound?
Cool.
Subscribe to Ben Pitcher's Industry Insider through iTunes. Follow Ben on Twitter @OfficialInsider.
All right, we're back for the last part of our interview with Johnny Galvatron, game lead on the Artful Escape of Francis Vendetti. We've been talking all things games, developing, music. A little bit more music now, though. I want to talk to you, Johnny, about the music of the Artful Escape of Francis Vendetti and also the art behind this amazing-looking project.
Cool, man. Well, we've been playing with some cool toys for the Artful Escape. We've got 2 different kind of themes throughout the game. One is in the real world, which is in this fictional town called Calypso, Colorado. You see a lot of that in the trailer.
Yeah.
We're using this artist called Luke Legs. He's a friend of mine, and he does some really amazing folk tracks. Because part of the story is that Francis Vendetti is the nephew of like a famous dead folk singer, and him kind of breaking out of that mold. So a lot of Francis's uncle's music kind of haunts that town, and you can hear it on the wind, and you can hear it when you're up in the hills around the town. So that's kind of half of the music, and then the other half we're doing very synth-driven, spacey stuff combined with a bit of organ. Because when you're flying through space, you need crazy organ. I don't know if you know this. It's a rule.
Yeah, right.
And combining that with a lot of strings and choir and stuff. So the music's quite vast in the otherworldly sections of the game.
So Luke Legs, I assume from that is he's developed the music of Francis' uncle. Is that correct? The folk music?
No. I went to him because I'd heard his music and I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, right.
And I approached him and he was like, I was just said to him, I need you to play a dead folk singer in a Colorado mountain town. He was down with that.
Wow. And so you've got the folk singer. What else features in the game as far as the soundscape and the music is concerned?
Well, Francis plays a guitar. The main character plays a guitar. He's which he has a holographic amp. It's like a holographic guitar and a holographic amplifier. That when he holds his hands out, they appear. And he jams with these huge creatures in order to pass through to various levels of different dimensions. So it's kind of based on the... Have you ever seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Framer? I assume you have. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of based on the jam at the end. The gameplay, when you jam with these creatures, is based on the jam between the keyboard and the alien spaceship in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
That's very nice. I like that. That's a good vibe.
Thanks, Framer.
So so Josh Abraham, where does he come into the picture?
Well, he's been if you've seen the trailer, yeah. So there's some music in that me and Josh made.
Of course, just to give it a plug, if you do want to go and have a look at anything we're talking about, you can go to theartfulescape.com. We'll leave that up for information. If you haven't heard this and you want to check it out, we'll leave the links on the podcast. But theartfulescape.com to go and check out the trailer. Sorry, Johnny, please carry on.
Yeah, so we worked on that song together. So he's really down with the project, and we'll have a lot of work to do. But I've worked with Josh for a long time. He did the original Galvatrons demos, the ones that got us the record deal and stuff. So we've been friends for a long time. I think he's a great guy.
It's kind of I don't know if you'd call it a full circle, but it must be an interesting feeling to come into another successful project like this. I mean, look, to be honest, it's not a Midas touch thing because we wouldn't want to wish that on you, but everything you do touch does become successful in varying degrees. I'm sure you'll disagree with me to some points, but you're a very talented man, Mr. Johnny Galvatron, and it looks like this is gonna come off again. It's a very exciting thing to see in development.
Thanks, Freeman. You're a lovely man. You've always been a lovely man.
Oh, mate, always here for you. Always here for you. So, has Josh worked on a game before, or is this his first foray into the field?
I think this is Josh's first game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh has done miles of crazy shit. He's probably done some weird Japanese game at some point. You never know. Dude's a mystery.
Yeah. So what future? Where does the future lie for the Artful Escape of Francis Vendetti? What are the next steps now?
Well, we're working on a Kickstarter campaign at the moment, and the trailer for that, which is going to add more gameplay and give people a better idea of the game. We're also we updated from sprites to rigs, which means a sprite is a little movie that plays, right? So when you see the character running along the screen, it's not an actual rigged mesh. It's like a little movie playing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
And we've transferred that over to full rigs now, which means that when the character changes between the different poses, it blends seamlessly, and it has vector motion in it, so you can better smooth the image and stuff. So a whole bunch of technical stuff we've been doing, and then we'll launch our Kickstarter in the next 2 months, and then we'll be developing for the next year.
And so when you say developing, what happens in that development stage for the next part of the process?
Build the flipping game, Framer.
You build the game.
Yeah.
You build the game.
Build the game. Build the game, code it, and then check it for like 6 months.
Is that like game testing?
Game testing is a big part. I mean, I don't know if you recently heard about the horrendous release of Arkham Knight on PC. Did you hear about this, Framer?
No, I have not. Please inform me.
Okay. On PlayStation and Xbox One, it was flawless. It's such a good game. Maybe my game of the year so far. I really loved it. And the PC version just hadn't been fully developed, hadn't been fully bug tested, they hadn't got everything right, and it was just unplayable, and they had to take it off Steam. So like even big companies can muck up their releases.
How does that happen from something seamless to something unplayable? What?
Because we were talking earlier about putting it on different platforms.
Yes.
They hadn't spent enough time on the PC version.
Right.
Because they have to spend you can make a really high spec game for PC because no matter what PC someone has, they can play it on the different settings. But if you're going to release it on PlayStation and Xbox, you've got to make the game to that standard and then put it over to the PC after that.
Understood.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes when you're trying to do cross-platform releases, you can screw yourself on one platform.
So you really have to work on each particular operating system. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I mean, all I'm saying really is you need enough time to bug check everything,
right,
and to properly polish the game.
Well, I'm sure it will be bug checked well and truly.
Well, we'll see, man. We'll see.
So with this Kickstarter, you're starting it in 2 months. Is there any information you can give us on going to it at the moment, or are you going to launch it in 2 months? There's nothing we can...
We're going to launch it in 2 months, so we'll let our Twitter followers know, and we'll put updates on the website and everything. So just go to the website, you can check out.
All right, man.
Everything as it happens.
Well, let's stay in touch, and when that Kickstarter kicks off, so to speak, let's have another chat. Let's find out. Let's get an update. Let's follow this on Industry Insider. You know, we're 100% behind you, and we would love to make sure that you're well and truly promoted to get you some cash on that Kickstarter to see this amazing project come to fruition.
Thanks, Framer. You're a champion.
All right. If you want any more information, you can go to the Artful Escape of... The Artful Escape of Francis Vendetti is the name of the project. TheArtfulEscape.com is where you need to go for any further information. Thanks for joining us on Ben Pitch's Industry Insider, and we will catch up with you in 2 months' time for the start of the Kickstarter. It's going to be pretty exciting.
Awesome, man. Thanks heaps.
Cheers, mate. Johnny Galvatron here, The Artful Escape of Francis Vendetti.
You've been listening to Ben Pitcher's Industry Insider. For more, head to benpitchersindustryinsider.com.